Kia ora, good afternoon. So I'm going to make this video and it's probably going to get me into trouble, but what the hell. I've been throwing a lot of elites under the bus lately, so it's like in for a penny, in for a pound. So while I've been resting and, trying to look after my stomach, I've been listening to some missing persons cases and true crimes, unexplained mysteries, unsolved mysteries, that sort of thing, for my podcasts and shows, as you know, research. And I came across a case, I think I'd passed over it before because I'd done a time jump that I have recorded that's to do with a serial killer on the east coast of America. And when I was looking up to see whether what I'd seen was related to any unsolved murders, that seemed to be serial killer based from sort of like the New England area down to Florida and there, I think I briefly passed over this, but I didn't look at it because it was in Texas and I knew the jump that I was seeing with this serial killer was definitely East Coast. And when that serial killer came about, the New England serial killer and that, I did put my jump up there to say, could this be the person that I saw? If so, there's clues in there as to who it could be. If not, let's keep an eye out, sort of thing. So then I'm listening to this case, and it was talking about the 11 go to heaven, the Texas killing fields, and all the bodies, over 30 bodies in total, have been found from the 70s to the 80s in this particular field. And a man called Michael Self was charged and locked up and sent away for the killings of one particular girl that was found in that field. However, there was a man called Edward Harold Bell. You notice they give serial killers 3 names? Anyway, Edward Harold Bell confessed to the murders and they didn't listen to him. All Michael Self's appeals got denied. He was basically, every time he tried to appeal, the judges just wouldn't hear it. Nobody would listen to him. The prosecution, like there were people in the court system, including his own lawyers and that knew, that swore black and blue that he had been set up, that the cops had framed him, and that he was completely innocent, but unfortunately he died in prison before he got justice. Even when he was trying to appeal, he wouldn't even be allowed to appeal. They wouldn't even give him like a second glance. So as a karmic judge, this is my comic book and my video game and my radio series. I don't know if I'm going to turn it into a movie yet, but I know it's going to be a radio series. I know it's my video game, and I know it's going to be a comic book that I call The Soul Collector. Detective Ruby Corazon, Ruby Hart. Her job is, she works for the Ministry of Souls, where she goes and solves unsolved murders and crimes from the past. She's what's called, she works in the Historical Grief Investigation Department. So it's her job to go back to the past to solve unsolved murders and unsolved crimes and that, so that she can clear the names of people who have been accused of crimes they didn't commit, but also go back in time to catch the souls of the offenders so that they don't waste space in purgatory. Because if you get away with committing crimes and then you die, you don't go to heaven or hell, you sit in purgatory until your day of judgment. But there's a backlog. So she goes in. She did have a partner, Lieutenant Brennan Sobek, King Sobek. But she graduated and became a detective, and he stayed behind as a lieutenant because he's not immortal like her. She has to take him with her. He has like a special pass that allows him to go back in time, but without that pass, he stays in the mortal world, and is like a cold case detective. And he was teamed up with her as an underworld detective, and his badge allows him to go through, pass through the underworld and time jump and that when she's solving crimes. But he didn't make detective. So she got her badge, and now she's gone. Like, she works for the Ministry of Souls now. She doesn't deal with the law enforcement departments of the mortal world. She now works for the Ministry of Souls in between the gates of heaven and hell, which my animated cartoon series, The Art of Creation, talks about all of this. Heaven and hell, and the news and all the happenings that are going on between heaven, hell, purgatory, the rooms of reincarnation, that sort of thing. So now she's left him behind. She's like risen above him in rank, and so he's left in the mortal world while she works in the heavens and that for the gods of all religions, all nations and that, because people commit sins and crimes and killings and that all around the world, have done throughout history, and so she goes to get them. She clears the names, she investigates crimes where if the people accused, like Michael Self, are innocent, she puts it out into the ethers and says to the gods, he's innocent, like he is 100% innocent, and then God will say, okay, he's been accused of something he didn't do. Not only are we going to clear his name and let it be known in the history books that even in the heavens we have found him innocent, it means that he gets to leave purgatory and gets a whole new life. So he's been sitting in purgatory for a couple of decades waiting for his name to be cleared so that he can get justice and then have the right for a free passage to the afterworld. And in the afterlife, that means that he gets to be reborn. So now this video that I'm making, this podcast, this Connecting the Dots podcast, is pointing fingers at the innocent and the guilty. Saving the innocent and pointing fingers at the guilty. Because all of that stuff, believe it or not, energetically makes a huge difference in the laws of the karmic universe. Satan is the one who sets all the laws of what a sin is, and God is the one that presents those laws to let people know what you should and shouldn't be doing to get into heaven and keep out of hell, right? So I'm what's called a karmic judge. So I sit between the both of them and I say, Satan, this person's guilty. God, this person's innocent. Satan, this person's innocent. God, this person's guilty. Weighing the scales like armor and ma'at, right? So Michael Self is 100% completely innocent. So now because that's been put out there and my word is respected in the karmic courts of the universe, it means now that his soul will be broken down, his atoms will now be broken down as Michael Self, and he will be conceived into the life of his next life will be a good one. It means that everything that he was forced to endure in this life, he will be made up for in the next one. He will more than likely, like, say, for example, be born into a wealthy family or a family where they don't have to worry about paying the bills and the mum and dad love him so much and he has a good life and he gets to enjoy the things that he wants to, or come back as a woman, whatever he decides, or whatever they decide. And then, so he'll get the life that he deserves now to make up for what happened in his past life. And the people who got away with it, whether they're alive or dead, their souls will either be punished in this life, or if they're still alive, and if not, while they're sitting in purgatory, their souls will go straight to hell. And then they'll suffer the consequences. So now, with the killing fields, the 11 go to heaven. So Michael Self is absolutely 100% not responsible for this. The cops that blamed him ended up going to prison for things. A lot of the cops involved in this case ended up going to prison for things. But then there's this Edward Harold Bell, who made these confessions, and nobody took him seriously. And I was just saying to my nephew, everything about this case screams Freemason sacrifices. I keep saying, people like Charles Manson and Richard Ramirez said that they were part of an elite cult where they were put up to doing these things, and as a result they get to claim the name serial killer and that, because there's a lot of fame and rewards that you get, believe it or not, for taking on the name of a serial killer. Women falling at their feet, they become infamous, they go down in history, they become feared and big and tough and blah blah blah, and that feeds their psychosis, it feeds into their mental illness, it feeds into their ego, and they love that sort of stuff. Charles Manson was promised fame as a Hollywood actor, and he nearly had his foot in the door, but as with all Illuminati initiations, you have to make sacrifices, and for him, they set him and his cult out to take care of the Polanski situation. And not just, the people at the Polanski home. There was, a few people outside of the Polanski property and that were killed because of him, because they were making these sacrifices. And if you take the name of serial killer and take the blame for committing these killings, you get to go down in history for being famous. And then, of course, when you go to prison, you get special treatment, believe it or not. And women will fall all over you, and you basically have all these women in that eating out of the palm of your hand. They love the interviews, they love the attention, it's what they crave. Now, the interesting thing is, Edward Bell claims that he was forced to do these killings, that he was under mind control for a secret society. And nobody listened to him, nobody gave him a second thought. Most of these girls that went missing, none of it was even reported on the news, and that's when you have to be suspicious. Now, Charles Manson, everyone goes on about that look that he had in his eye when he was caught, that look that he, that stare, that wide-eyed stare, and it's because of LSD and that, but LSD as part of the CIA mind control technique, they'd give them LSD so that they would hallucinate and not be aware of their killings. And it reminds me of what I was told about the Israeli government injecting Israeli soldiers with what they called the rage injection. They were told they were vitamins or vaccines or something, and the next thing you know, these soldiers were coming back from doing things on assignment and hearing on the news that these massive atrocities had taken place and that they were involved in, and they don't even remember being involved in them. And it was bad enough that some of them were so heartbroken and so ashamed of what they realised they'd been forced to take part in, they were taking their own lives. But I was told about these rage injections that would make them hallucinate and go nuts. It's happening now with COVID, i.e. the Vanta Black the movie, which I might have to change the name of. But with Charles Manson and that, it was LSD. And that wide-eyed stare, you get the exact same look with the direct energy weapons, the mind control weapons. They give you the LSD and then tell you what to do in order to control your mind. And Edward Bell swore black and blue that he was made to do it by a secret society, but everyone just brushed it off. But of course, if you're talking about like Texas Freemasons, that's going to involve cops and lawyers and judges and prison guards and all of that. They're all part of the Freemason society. And so I think they were plucking these girls off the street to, perform their sacrifices and things like that, and then pinning it on people, and then making sure that even when they screamed for help, even when they tried to get the help, they would be denied because they couldn't have the truth coming out. Even though some cops in this case ended up serving time for other things as well. So then when I do these Connecting the Dots podcasts in there, I look into it, and then something isn't right here, and then I delve into it, and then I'm like, because I connect the dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it paints a picture. I connect the dots. I present my case to the Ministry of Souls, i.e. the heavens and hells of the world's religions and cultures and that, their gods, their deities, their whoever rules their fates, and I go to them and I say, these are my findings, and then they decide, okay, no, he's going to hell, okay, she gets set free, that sort of thing. All the victims, by the way, all victims, when they have been martyred in order to teach humanity about the evils and the sins of man, especially done in the name of God and the devil and Satan and all of that, all victims go to heaven without question. They get free passage into the afterlife without question. And I know that through watching some of the videos involving this case, and I'll put the links in the description box below, a lot of the parents never got over, were haunted by the fact that their daughters were going missing, their daughters weren't being given the voice, the respect they deserved, they weren't given the publicity in the media, they were completely shut up. And that's when you know this is more than just some random guy going around killing people. This is how you know that this involves the elites, because when judges and cops and lawyers and the media are shutting it all down and won't even mention that girls have gone missing, won't even give the people who have been prosecuted and charged in that, like, the justice they deserve, their amendment rights, and where the cops aren't doing their due diligence and all of that, that's when you have to go, hang on a minute, there's something a bit sus here. And then, of course, he swears black and blue. He was brainwashed by his father from a young age, and that it was for an elite secret society. I couldn't find anything other this one video about the mention of the secret society, only the brainwashing. And direct energy weapons give the brain the same effect as being on LSD. And the interesting thing is that he was a flasher, a peeping Tom, and the Night Stalker was as well. So I'll put links in the description box below. Michael Self was definitely innocent. Edward Bell, on the other hand, I think that there's more to his story than meets the eye, but the powers that be in his situation, as with Michael's, have made sure that everything gets pushed down into the underworld. But ODIN doesn't hold your secrets. ODIN, like Hades, in that there's various levels to the underworld, Satan being at the bottom. When you meet Satan and you're in the pits of hell with the molten lava, and that's when you know you no longer have a conscience. But before that, you meet Hades and Odin. So they're like the ones that will guard you in purgatory while your fates are being decided in the courts of karmic law. So then I come along, a karmic judge, and I work for the Ministry of Souls, and I point out my findings, and then let the gods decide the fates of the people that I'm pointing out. So the connecting the dots, that's why I do it. I used to get asked years ago, in the days of my WordPress and that, to look into people's files. I'd have loved ones turning up and saying, my son was found dead in a hotel and they said it was suicide, but and they're saying he was a drug addict, but yeah, he didn't take drugs and he was clean, he was blah blah blah. And then they'd show me the case files. I'd get to look at the autopsy results and all, because obviously once the coroner makes their decision, it's all a matter of public record, and the family would be allowed access. So then they would trust me with all of this stuff, and I'd go through it all. And like my dad, I'd tell them what I saw, I'd tell them what I'd see, I'd tell them what I think happened, and then I'd let them make up their own mind. I did that a lot. I loved it. I loved doing it. It made me feel good. I don't like working on missing persons cases because I'm so afraid of getting it wrong. And I don't want to give someone false hope if I say, look, I really don't think they're dead. I don't want to give someone false hope and get it wrong. So I just say, look, I'm only going to tell you what I see and what I think happened, or what it looks like to me. and then it's going to be up to you. And that's enough for the families. That's enough for the loved ones, and that they just want to know, okay, it looks like maybe I just didn't want to believe that they'd gone back onto drugs, or I knew it. I knew it was my dad that killed my mum, like that sort of thing. So I like bringing people closure, and I like bringing closure to the people who are waiting to be reborn, to hear about their fates. I like clearing their name, and it frees up space for purgatory, because we're getting ready to take, trust me when I say, we are getting ready to take a lot of people down to the underworld, and we need to clear space. So I'll put links in the description box below. The first video is the only video I could find, the only thing I could find where they even mention secret societies. And it's when you click on the video, it's the second case. And because it's quite a big video, but it's the second case they're talking about, where they talk about the secret society. And then I'll put the other videos in. And I hope that it clears up some space and frees some people's names. And then when I get out of here and I get my radio station set up in my house, and I'll do my connecting the dots, and the Eye in the Sky, my Eye in the Sky shows will be ones where I actually go out to locations and see what I see, but my connecting the dots will be my podcasts. I'll do that from home. Probably. There's probably bound to be cases where I'm out and about doing stuff where I'm going to end up finding out about a case that I turn into a podcast. But primarily I'll have Connecting the Dots, which is my podcast, and then Eye in the Sky show, which is where I want to go out on location, and teach you about, look, werewolves were seen here and this is what it is, blah, blah, blah. Connecting the Dots is more to do with like unsolved murders, unexplained mysteries, connecting the dots to paint a bigger picture, to give you a wider perspective, a different point of view. Whereas Eye in the Sky is more to do with like pointing out the supernatural and paranormal, and the unexplained stuff. Whereas Connecting the Dots is more to do with, that involves like victims and murders and serial killers and that sort of thing. So yeah, and then of course when I go to Australia after I get out of here, and I go home to see my sister in New Zealand, I'm going to go Australia and make shows with my nephew in Australia. We've already got like a whole list of places we're going to go and investigate. And he's an Aquarius, so he's already up there anyway. But he's like literally the only person in the world other than his wife who completely gets who I am and what I am, because they're like that too. They're ascending. And I've been helping them through their ascensions, and we help each other. We've got each other's backs. And so I said to them, when I come to Queensland and make more shows, do you want to come with me? And they were like, yeah, too right. I'm going to do the same in New Zealand, but I don't know that my big sister would want to be on camera. You might hear her voice when we go and investigate places in New Zealand, but you might hear her voice. I'll be surprised if she comes on camera, but with my nephew, he's not going to care. And then we get to explore. He's going to take me to, we're going to do like a whole episode on Ned Kelly, because he lives around like the Ned Kelly territoires. And I mean, everybody loves Ned Kelly, right? So we're going to do like a whole Ned Kelly Eye in the Sky show thing. He's going to take me to all the locations, and yeah, so we'll have like a whole episode of like, a whole series, because there's a lot of ground to cover with Ned Kelly, and I can't wait to see what I see. And then with any luck, because he's now starting to plug back into his Aquarian gifts and abilities, and that hopefully he'll be able to see what he sees too. He's also going to be one of my voice actors, so he'll be doing voices for a lot of my characters. And I was thinking of making him, getting him to do Theo Lazarus. So, but we'll just see. Anyway, so I had to put this out there, explain a little bit about who I am, what I do, what I'm creating, why I'm creating it. And I tell you what, for my kids that are a little bit dark, my kids that are, you know, the goths and the emos and a little bit dark. I'm going to put them onto all my Halloween stuff and my Soul Collector series, which, like I said, is the video game, the comic book, and the radio shows. Like, I'm going to get them doing all the writing and the art and the music, you know, for the writers and artists and musicians that are a bit on the dark side, you know, for the goths and emos and the weirdos and freaks and that, they're going to be put onto that side of the art and writing and acting and music and that, and then I will just let them unleash their full potential, because we're going to be dealing with like serial killers and sacrifices and that, and when they do this stuff in their classrooms and in their art books, they get hauled off to the shrinks and the principals and that for being dark and twisted and creepy and someone to watch out for, and forced to medicate, and that when people don't have a clue, they just don't have a clue what these kids are actually doing, but I do. So now I'm going to build my foundation and give them a safe space where they can go and unleash their darkness, and I'm going to turn it into Halloween prophets and video games and movies, and because they'll be, you know, my slasher movies, Mother Knows Best and Vanta Black. I might have to change the name for Vanta Black because of the fact that I heard the man that invented the name Vanta Black sues everybody that even dares try to use the name Vanta Black. So I'm going to have to come up with a new name for my zombie apocalypse movie, but my zombie apocalypse musical. Let's just call it Zombie the Musical. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, so I might have to change Vanta Black because I don't want to get sued. It's just in reference to the fact that when they turn, their blood turns so black that they become almost like transparent. But yeah, so just be prepared for the fact I may have to change the name Vanta Black. But at the end of Vanta Black, that's when you actually meet Ruby Corazon. She makes her first appearance then. So whoever plays her is going to have to be like a pretty cool, tough chick. Kind of like Lara Croft, but less nerdy and more hardened underworld princess, because she is the daughter of Persephone and Hades after all. So she is a princess, you know, but she's taken on a normal job. Her father, Hades, wants her to like help him rule the underworld, but she just wants to get out and like, you know, do good with her gifts and do right by her grandpa, who's Satan. So I've written all these things that, yeah, it's just, I love it. If you've gone to my Trixie thing, it's going to give you an indication of the relationship that you're going to have with Ruby and all the people she works with in the Soul Collector franchise. So yeah, so anyway, Texas Killing Fields 11 Go to Heaven. I'll put the links in the description box below. But yeah, this just screams Illuminati, Freemason sacrifices. So I'm just putting it out there, and it's like, well, I've already started taking them out in public anyway. You know, why not do it some more? But it's because I have to explain to people what it is that I am. Because then when I'm ready to start putting the games and movies and shows out there, you're going to get it. And I've had to literally fight these people, these elites, presidents, prime ministers, billionaires, millionaires, cops, judges, lawyers, games companies, all of them, to get this out there so that I can get justice for myself and build my foundation and then gather the children and to protect them. Me and my boys, just me and my two sons. Because my youngest is the one that is helping me write my Quantum Menace War sagas for the radio, and my eldest boy helps me with my video games. Oh, my youngest was also helping me write the battle for With a Little Help from My Friends, because like when it comes to like tanks and guns and all, like, he knows his thing. And my eldest is helping me write the zombie musical, and helps me with my video games, my video game ideas and that. He's, every time I'm missing that little something to just like make it just pitch perfect, he just knows what to plug it with. How about you try it this way? And I'm like, oh my god, that's brilliant, why didn't I think of that? Yeah, so me and my boys make great writing fellows. My youngest doesn't want to do voices, but my eldest is more than happy to give it a go. So anyway, I'm going to go now and have some water. I need to lay down. My stomach's killing me. So I will speak to you later. Ka kite anō.